Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're a green card holder or planning to travel outside the United States soon, you need to stop what you're doing and pay attention to this video. Because the US government just announced some major changes to entry and exit rules that could directly affect your ability to travel and return to the country. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh great, more rules, more complications. But here's the thing. These changes aren't necessarily bad news. Some of them actually make things clearer and more streamlined, but only if you know what they are. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today. Because the last thing you want is to be stuck at the airport, denied boarding, or facing unnecessary delays because you didn't know about a new requirement. Whether you're a green card holder who travels frequently for work or family, or someone who just got their green card and is planning that first trip back home to visit loved ones, these new rules apply to you. We are talking about updated documentation requirements, biometric screening procedures, and some really important changes to how long you can stay outside the US without risking your permanent resident status. And here's what makes this even more critical. Immigration officers are already implementing some of these changes at major airports and border crossings right now. This isn't something that's coming next year. It's happening as we speak. So if you have any travel plans in the next few months, you absolutely need to understand what's changed and how to prepare properly. I'm going to break down everything you need to know in simple, straightforward terms. No legal jargon, no confusion. Just practical information you can actually use. So if this information is helpful to you, do me a quick favor and smash that like button right now. It helps more people find this video and stay informed about their rights and responsibilities. Alright, so let's dive straight into what's actually happening here. On October 24th, 2025, U.S. Customs and Border Protection published a new regulation in the Federal Register that fundamentally changes how all non-citizens will be processed when entering and leaving the United States. And when I say all non-citizens, I mean everyone who doesn't hold a U.S. passport, including you as a green card holder. This is a massive expansion of the biometric surveillance system that's been in development for years, and it's finally going into full effect on December 26, 2025. That's less than 2 months away from now, so you don't have a lot of time to prepare if you're planning to travel during the holiday season or early next year. So what exactly does this new rule require? The core of it is pretty straightforward. Every single time you enter the United States and every single time you leave the United States, CBP officers will now photograph you and collect biometric data using advanced facial recognition technology. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, don't they already do this? And you're partially right. CBP has been collecting fingerprints and photographs from visa holders and some immigrants for years now. But this is the first time they're requiring mandatory facial recognition at every single exit point as well. That's the big change here. Up until now, most of the focus has been on who's coming into the country, but they haven't had a comprehensive system for tracking who's leaving. This new regulation closes that gap completely. The system is designed to work across all ports of entry, which means whether you're flying out of JFK in New York, driving across the border into Mexico or Canada, or leaving from a seaport on a cruise, you're going to have your photo taken and your biometric data collected. The government is creating what they call an integrated biometric entry-exit system, which essentially means they'll have a database with your photo from your passport, your visa documents, and images captured at the border, and they'll use facial recognition software to match your face in real time when you enter and leave the country. The stated goal here is to address national security concerns, combat terrorism, prevent the fraudulent use of travel documents, and most importantly for many people, identify individuals who overstay their visas or remain in the United States without proper authorization. Now, let's talk about who this affects, because this is where a lot of people get confused. This rule applies to all non-US citizens, period. That includes lawful permanent residents like green card holders, temporary visa holders, whether you're on an H-1B work visa, F-1 student visa, tourist visa, whatever it is, and yes, even undocumented immigrants who might be apprehended at the border. But here's something really important that caught a lot of people off guard. For the first time ever, the government is removing age exemptions for biometric screening. Previously, children under 14 and adults over 79 were exempt from facial recognition checks, but under this new rule, everyone is subject to it regardless of age. So if you're traveling with your elderly parents who have green cards, or if you have young children who are not U.S. citizens, they will also be photographed and have their biometric data collected. Here's what you can practically expect when you travel under these new rules. When you arrive at a U.S. port of entry, whether that's an airport, land border, or seaport, you're going to go through the usual immigration process. But now there will be mandatory facial recognition cameras positioned at the inspection booths. The CBP officer will take your photo, and that image will be instantly compared against the database of photos they have on file for you from your passport, visa applications, previous border crossings, and any other immigration-related documents. The facial recognition software analyzes dozens of unique facial features to verify that you are who you claim to be. This happens in real time, usually within just a few seconds. If there's a match, you'll be cleared to proceed. If there's a discrepancy or if the system can't get a clear match, you might be pulled aside for additional questioning or secondary inspection. As a green card holder, you do have more rights than someone on a temporary visa, but you need to understand what those rights actually are. CBP officers can ask you questions when you enter the country, and they can ask to search your electronic devices like your phone or laptop. You technically have the right to refuse to answer questions or allow a device search, but here's the catch. If you refuse, they can delay your entry significantly, and in some cases, they might decide to refer you for additional screening or even deny your entry temporarily until you comply. It's a tough situation because you want to protect your privacy, but you also want to get through the airport and get on with your life. My advice is to know your rights, but also be strategic about when you choose to exercise them. If you have sensitive information on your devices, consider leaving them at home or backing up the data and traveling with a clean device. I also want to talk briefly about what happens if you're planning to travel to certain countries that might be considered sensitive from a U.S. national security perspective. If you're planning to visit countries that have complicated relationships with the United States or that are known to be hotspots for terrorism or security concerns, you should expect additional scrutiny when you return to the U.S., even if you have a green card. This has always been true to some extent. But with the new biometric tracking system and the current administration's focus on border security and immigration enforcement, it's likely that trips to certain countries will trigger automatic flags in the system that result in you being pulled aside for secondary inspection. This doesn't mean you can't travel to these places, and it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, but you should be prepared for extra questions and possible delays. So here's the bottom line, and I want to make sure this is crystal clear for everyone watching. These new biometric entry and exit rules are a significant change in how the United States monitors and tracks non-citizens, including green card holders. The system goes into effect on December 26, 2025, and it will eventually be implemented at all airports, seaports, and land borders across the country. You will be photographed and have your biometric data collected every time you enter and exit the United States. There's no way to opt out of this if you're a non-citizen. The best thing you can do is understand how the system works. Make sure all your immigration documents are in order. Keep careful records of your travels, and be strategic about how long you spend outside the United States so you don't jeopardize your permanent resident status. And if you have any doubts or concerns about your specific situation, especially if you have a criminal history,